Hello, viewers. My name is Will Underwood. I'm a writer here at Gambling Insider. Welcome to this episode of The Huddle. I'm joined here by Dale Nally, the Minister for Service and Red Tape Reduction for the Province of Alberta. Dale, thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, absolute pleasure to be here.
Okay, so we're here to talk a little bit about the imminent online gaming regulation for the Province of Alberta. So just to jump sort of straight in with the first question, beginning with the Ontarian market, which has gone from strength to strength since its regulation around 2 years ago. And you've said that you're sort of looking to follow the roadmap that they've set out for you. And I'm wondering, how do you believe the two markets may differ once they both reach maturity?
Yeah, well, I think, once we go down a couple of years down this road, I think there's going to be a lot of similarities between our two markets. I think they're both going to be successful, healthy markets with a focus on having a partnership and responsible gaming. And so I think that's what we'll have in similar. And in terms of maybe some of the differences, we have some demographic differences with Ontario. Because of our energy industry, we have a younger population. We have a population that has higher incomes. We have much lower taxes than the rest of the country, and so we have higher disposable incomes because we have a lower cost of living. So you actually tend to see a lot more wagering on things today, and so I expect that to carry on in the future. And I'll give you an example. You may have heard of the Edmonton Oilers. They are one of our premier hockey teams in North America, quite frankly. Obviously, I'm a fan. And we used to do 50. Well, we do 50/50s, which are basically you can buy a ticket, and half the funds go to charity, half the funds go to the winner. And in the past, they would raise $50,000, maybe $80,000, $100,000. Well, on the Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals, we had a 50/50 that hit $16 million. Wow. I mean, this is not a national lottery. This is a 50/50 that happens at a hockey game. And we've allowed people that are watching through television to also participate. So it is probably one of the most successful 50/50s we've seen in Canada. And that just shows you that Albertans love our sports, and we love to put some wagers down as well. So I think that you're going to see a very successful, with a focus on responsibility and safety, gambling market.
That's great. It's really exciting times, I suppose, for the province and obviously for yourself. Something that is sort of interesting about the Canadian market and the provincial markets, well, specifically with regards to Alberta, Alberta Gaming, Liquor and Cannabis, or the AGLC, is not going to be the provincial regulator. Could you give us any insight into the process of establishing a new and independent regulatory body?
Sure. Yeah, we heard loud and clear from the operators, Will, that AGLC has responsibility for Play Alberta, which is the government's online. That's where you can make online bets right now with just lottery tickets. And we heard loud and clear from operators that they want to participate in an open and free market in Alberta, but they're hesitant to come here and to provide any of that information to the regulator, AGLC, because they would be a competitor in the space with Play Alberta. So we heard that loud and clear. So we recently passed a piece of legislation, Bill 16, and it gives responsibility to conduct and manage gaming over to the minister. And so that means within the ministry, we have responsibility to conduct and manage gaming. And we are going to build initially that regulatory oversight in the ministry. Now, it's interesting because my title, Will, is actually Minister for Service Alberta and Red Tape Reduction. And so I'm the efficiency minister that wants to get rid of regulation that's unnecessary and that's duplicate. Mm-hmm. So we will be focusing on having a light touch when it comes to regulation. We want to keep the environment safe and responsible, but we don't want to be getting in the way of operators either. So it's going to be a very lean regulatory environment as we launch. As we go down this path, if we see that we have to open up another regulator like they did in Ontario with IGO, I mean, we can certainly do that down the road. But right now, we're not looking to have a standalone operator for the regulatory environment. We're just going to do it within the ministry, and it'll be a focus on a light touch. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's funny, actually. Minister for Service and Red Tape Reduction, we were actually having a discussion in the office just before the meeting, wondering sort of exactly what that means and entails. So the guys in the office are going to be happy for that clarification there. So yeah, thank you for that.
Well, I'll tell you this. I went out last night with some friends, and it was just went out for a scotch and a cigar, and I actually had three separate people come over to my table to tell me and introduce themselves and to tell me about some red tape reductions that we need to look at in their industry. So it's actually something that the entire province is behind because I mean, who wants government in their way, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a portfolio that the province has embraced because it's allowed us to be more efficient and to essentially get government out of the way of industry. So it's very exciting.
Perfect. Okay, so moving on to the next question. One of the reasons for regulating Ontario's market was to kind of help tackle their black or sort of grey market that had developed there. And I think it's estimated that around 55%, I'm not entirely sure on that figure, it could be more or less, of Alberta's market kind of falls within that unregulated bounds. So is there a sort of similar motivation there for regulating Alberta's provincial market?
Absolutely. I mean, the focus, of course, as I mentioned, is not regulation in itself. We're looking and saying that, look, online gambling is here. We're not bringing it to the province. It's already here. It's alive and well, but there's not a focus on responsibility. There's not a focus on making it a little more safer for the players, for Albertans. And so we want to create a light regulatory framework with a focus on responsibility and safety. And in the course of things, perhaps raise a few tax dollars as well. And so we're not opposed to that either.
Great.
The goal is to bring the gray into the green.
Perfect. I like that. That should be the slogan there.
I like the tagline, bring the gray into the green.
It's good. So could you underline a little bit about the sort of First Nations involvement in the market sort of as it stands, and then how you sort of anticipate that might change as we move forwards?
Sure. Yeah, I would say that First Nations communities are in the front seat right now on gambling because we have 46 First Nations. 6 of them have land-based casinos, and they are essentially in the driver's seats. And we look at them as partners in prosperity and so partners in this process. So they're in the front seat right now in the land-based casinos. In terms of what that's going to look like in the high gaming space, I can't say that right now, only because we're still doing the engagements. We haven't made any decisions. We are listening to our Indigenous partners and asking them what do you want this space to look like, and how do you want to play a role? Do you want to be an operator? Do you want to have more of a passive role? So we're having those engagements now, and I'll be bringing forward some recommendations shortly to my cabinet colleagues on some suggestions on what this could look like based on what I heard from our First Nations.
And sort of from a observational capacity, I suppose, sort of being on a different side of the country and in a sort of culturally different province, watching Ontario's market kind of bloom over the last couple of years, have you noticed any sort of pitfalls or things that you would sort of look to avoid maybe when regulating or sort of taking care of the Alberta market, as so to speak?
Sure. Well, let me first say that Ontario has done a great job. And Minister Downey, Minister Cho have been phenomenal partners for us and working with us and sharing best practices. And I think they've done a great job. If I had some areas that we could perhaps massage, I mean, one of them is I noticed that they're doing their engagement with First Nations now. And we started that process earlier, so that's one thing that we're doing a little bit differently, and also we've heard that there could be some improvements by massaging the processes and automating where possible, and so we're taking a close look at that, and we want to make it as easy as possible for our operators. So we're seeing where we can make some improvements, but overall, I think they've done a great job, and like I said before, they've really created the roadmap for us to get into this.
I'd imagine if you were sort of 2 years down the line, looking at Alberta's market, being in the same place that Ontario is in now, that would be a pretty good position. You'd be happy to take that.
We would be happy to take that.
Yeah. So moving on to sort of my last question, looking forwards, that's sort of 2 of Canada's more highly populated provinces sort of moving into a legal online gambling space. How do you sort of anticipate that the rest of the provinces may follow as we sort of continue to move?
So we have a saying here in Alberta. We say that Alberta leads and the rest of the country follows. And that's quite often what we see in many areas. But in this case, Ontario got there first. We are happy to join them. We're thrilled they're doing a great job, but I do believe that the rest of the country is going to start to follow suit. They're going to see that, look, iGaming is here. We're not bringing iGaming to the province. It's already in all the provinces. You may as well make it more responsible, a little more safer, and collect a few tax dollars for the benefit of the people that live in your province. And so I think that when people, other provinces, jurisdictions see that value proposition, I do expect other jurisdictions to follow suit.
Well, that's all the questions I had today, Dale. Thanks again for joining us. All the best of luck moving forwards. I think it's going to be a very, very interesting couple of years in Alberta with regards to iGaming. So I wish you the very best of luck, and we'll be keeping a close eye on what happens over there. So thank you very much.
Well, it was nice chatting with you, Will. Appreciate that.
Thank you.